Welcome into Sports Talk, sponsored by Simmons Rockwell GMC on this March night. I'm Jenna Harner.
And I'm Kevin Case. And Jenna, I am exhausted because it's been a wild month of sports here in the Twin Tiers.
Yeah, Kev, we've been pretty busy, it's fair to say.
Yep.
We've been following Section 4 basketball teams all around, with lots of local teams making runs through the sectional tournaments and some even into states.
Yeah, that's right, Jenna. We've got two teams in particular that made some history this month.
Couple teams, both of our teams of the month made it further in the tournament than any other program in school history for that particular program. And one team in particular had a game for the storybooks.
Yeah, Jen, I think everyone knows about the Watkins Glen girls team and their historic tournament run, and you were there as the team returned home to celebrate the program's first ever state championship.
Returning home as champions for the Watkins Glen Lady Senecas, yesterday's Class C final against Port Jefferson came down to one final shot as time expired.
I shot it, I'm watching it, I land, I'm looking at it bouncing, and it's just like bounce, bounce, goes in, and I just lost it. I told myself I was going to try not to like cry too bad, and I just lost it. It was awesome.
Oh my gosh, I was under the basket, and all I was thinking is, if this thing falls out, I'm about to be Michael Jordan or something and tip it back in because his knees are going in. And I don't think I've ever jumped so high and fallen so fast before. Just seeing that going, it was crazy.
The Lady Senecas took down the Lady Royals 65-63 after Hannah Morse's buzzer beater. But what may have been more stunning than the last bucket was how Watkins Glen was down by 16 with just over 7 minutes to play. And while the Lady Senecas never planned to pack it in, heading into the final 8 minutes, the nerves were definitely present.
Absolutely, you have to worry. I mean, there was worry, but I never doubted the team. I said, girls, we've been down before like this. We've come back before. We've got 8 minutes. Let's go out there and do it.
I never had any doubt. We've come back from bigger deficits than that before against pretty great teams. It was just knowing that we had to focus and we had to be ourselves and play our game and not let it get to our heads, because when we give up, we know we're done, and we just couldn't give up.
A combination of a full court press and foul line perfection helped bring the Senecas back before Morse brought it home. And as the girls stormed the court as the final horn sounded, head coach Alicia Learn wouldn't have had it any other way.
It was like sitting right on the back, and it dropped, and then I just jumped and went crazy. It's just so exciting. You got the goosebumps going through. That's a ball game right there.
And Kev, this was a wild run for the Lady Senecas. They end the season on top, 2017 Class C champions. That buzzer beater will never get old.
Never.
Never.
Those girls will always remember that.
It's something they'll always remember for sure. Now, on their way, they also captured the Section 4 title. That one came down to the wire, too.
Yeah, Taylor Kelly had a big shot there to win that game, and they won that game at the buzzer, actually.
They won that game at the buzzer. So the Senecas finished their season off with only 2 losses, and this was the first state title in program history. Like we said, a memory I'm sure that they'll never forget.
Absolutely not. So big congrats to the Watkins Glen girls on winning the program's first ever state title. But moving from girls to boys basketball here, Watkins Glen, they weren't the only Section 4 team, Jenna, to make a run at a state title game. That's right. In Class D, the Newfield boys, they made a march all the way to the Class D final. And we'll pick up the Trojan state tournament run in the semifinals, where Chris Bubble's team took on Section 10's Harrisville. And Kev, you were at that one. Yes, I was at this one. This game was wild. The Trojans were in control, up 51-45 late in the fourth. Really playing fantastic, but the Pirates just wouldn't go away. They came back to tie the game at 51, and we went to overtime. So one overtime. And then in OT, Newfield pulled in front again, only to see Harrisville pull even with 4 seconds to play. So 2 overtimes, but the Trojans finally put the game away in double OT. Stephen Labarge and Quintel Clements were both great. Labarge finished with a game-high 26 points, and Clements added 14 points and 15 rebounds for Newfield. After the game, head coach Chris Bubble just marveled at what a wild 40 minutes of basketball it was.
You know, I told him in the huddle afterwards that if you weren't excited playing in this basketball game, I don't know why you played basketball to begin with, because that was exciting. More exciting than we would have wanted, but we'll take it nonetheless.
So then next up, it was on to the Class D state final for Newfield, and the Trojans were looking for the first state title in program history. They were taking on Section 7's Mariah. And Quintel Clemens came to play again. This night, he finished with 18 points and 16 rebounds. But Mariah came into this one with just one loss for the whole season, and there was a reason why. This one was real close into the fourth quarter, but the Vikings used a late 10-2 run to secure a 61-52 win. So the Trojans' march ended just one win short of a state title, but head coach Chris Bubble, he still had some special words for his seniors after this game.
You know, I told the seniors this is important and they'll remember this for the rest of their life, but it's not, it's not anything that they should be ashamed of. They played a heck of a game. They lost to a good team, and they had a fantastic season getting to this point. And they got bigger and better things. They're going to be great husbands, fathers, and role models and leaders in their communities when they continue to grow.
So huge congrats to both the Watkins Glen girls and the Newfield boys on fantastic seasons. For Watkins Glen, like we said, that was the program's first ever state title. And at Newfield, that was the first state title game the program has made since 1986, so a little while back.
Little
bit,
dated.
But certainly a couple of historic seasons for those two teams.
And I love that Chris Bubble quote at the end.
Yeah.
It's a little bit bigger than this. There's something they remember for the rest of their lives, but they're going to go on to do bigger and better things. And so a huge congratulations. Got to love that.
Yep.
So now it's time to switch gears a little bit. We'll head from the hardwood to the ice.
Yeah, Jenna, earlier this week, I had a chance to catch up with someone I actually went to high school with, believe it or not, but he also happens to play for the Elmira Jackals. So without further ado, let's get to know Jackals forward, Casey Thrush. All right, so first of all, you're from Maryland, I'm from Maryland.
That's right.
Crab cakes and football, is that actually what Maryland does?
Are you ready? Are you ready for some football?
It's very close, and if I've had $1 for every time someone said that to me that's never been to Maryland, I would probably be rich.
Crab cakes and football! That's what Maryland does!
What thing do people not know about playing hockey in the ECHL? What would surprise them?
I think probably just the whole grind of it, and mostly the travel. I think people, see when we get to road games, they think, we're flying in first-class planes and all this stuff, but they have no idea about the sleeper buses.
When was the last time Coach Duco yelled at you?
Probably 15 minutes ago.
What'd you do?
I just took it and just moved on. That's what you got to do.
But what'd you do to make him mad?
Oh, I probably turned the puck over or something. I don't know what I did.
Best facial hair on the team. I know that's a big thing in hockey.
Oh, Guy Leboeuf before he shaved. I don't know if he counts now because he just shaved. Davis Van Dane's got a pretty big beard, but I still think I would go Guy Leboeuf.
So yeah, I would have gone Van Dane. Does he have something living in his beard at this point? Any animals?
Possibly. There might be a bird's nest in there. I don't know. We haven't really investigated yet.
What famous Syracuse running back was known as the Elmira Express?
I have no clue.
There was a movie.
I still don't know.
What famous author is buried in Elmira?
Ooh, is it Mark Twain?
Oh, you did, yeah. That's right, yeah.
There you go. 1 for 2. That's not too
The
bad.
not sports one you got.
Yeah.
Favorite pregame meal?
Salmon and pasta.
Can you cook that? That's pretty.
No.
That's pretty intense.
Wegmans can cook it.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
No.
No one thinks a hot dog's a sandwich. I don't know why we still ask this question. Jenna thinks that Connecticut pizza is the best pizza in America. Tell her she's wrong.
I think she's wrong. I've been to Chicago before to see one of my friends, and I had some pretty good pizza in Chicago, so I think I'm going to go with that as the #1 seed.
Makes sense. Come on. So, see, Jenna, Casey agrees with me. Connecticut, not the best pizza in America.
You haven't tried it. I tell everybody, you can't knock it until you try it. Connecticut pizza is absolutely fantastic. Frank Pepe's, you grow up on this kind of stuff. It's, it's the tomato basil. They have the white clam pizza. It's like a garlic pizza with clams.
She's got a whole stick.
It's amazing. It's incredible.
Coming up next block, Jenna explains Connecticut pizza.
I'm going to do it eventually. You're going to try some. I'm going to bring some back for you, and you're really going to enjoy it, I promise.
Okay.
I promise. Okay. Well, let's move from the great pizza debate to something else that is great, our highlight of the month. And so, Kev, last time around, our game of the month was a matchup between the Ithaca and Corning boys basketball team.
Yes, it was.
It was for the Stack West title. And it was a matchup that came down to the final quarter.
Yeah, that's correct, Jen. And this month, the two faced off again for the sectional title. And naturally, it came down to the wire once again.
It did. So to the first half of this one we go. Big stage, Floyd L. Maines Arena in Binghamton. And this one was about as back and forth as you can be. Early on, Jason Rodriguez beats the corner, kicks it on out to John Warner here, who goes up for the long two. So they were starting out strong, but the other end, Jordani Cuevas Marte for Ithaca nailed threes like there was no tomorrow. Little Red, they held the 10-8 lead, but the Hawks always seem to have an answer. Rodriguez gets his toes just before the line. That three gets a lucky bounce.
Shooters roll.
Shooters roll, and it seemed everyone, Kev, was hitting threes on the night. This time, it was Jordan Ayers' turn. Check this three out from way downtown. Both teams, they had height for sure, but John Warner, he's going to find his mismatch on the inside here, or so he thinks. He posts up, but Cuevas Marte flies in, so that's that one way into the stands. We were all tied at 13 and a little bit of fast break action here. Abe Phelan gets the rebound, and watch him. He's going to take it right back on the inside. What a move.
Nasty crossover there.
He got the circus hoop. Little Red, they were up 15-13, and if you thought that was a circus move, well, I don't even know what to call this one. Didn't go in. It was still pretty.
Up and under.
Zach Peacock, he's there for the putback. And then Jalen Knuckles, talk about moves to the hoop. He finds the corner and he's gone. Some crazy midair acrobatics. So the Hawks, they were digging into the deficit. They trailed the Little Red 41-33 at the half. So we're just going to skip right ahead to the second half now because it was so exciting. The Hawks came out strong. Rodriguez, his huge three, that tied us all up at 48. And then Brendan Walker, I know you love this one, the smooth step back.
Not bad.
Huge three, buzzer beater at the end of the third. The Hawks took a 1-point lead and they didn't look back in transition out to Jordan Haggard. His tray there is huge. The Hawks took the 9-point lead, and then this time it's Knuckles again. He is the step back. His shot is money. Hawks with the commanding 66-57 lead in the fourth. But don't go counting out the Little Red. Battle of the three-pointers.
Seriously.
Almost a steal here. Turns into a Cuevas Marte three. Little Red were within 5. And then, this is awesome. Cole Els from the elbow. Time winding down. 3 from the arc. And it was a 4-point game with 16 seconds to play. So Corning, they have some free throws, and then he does it again.
Ooh, toilet bowl.
Oh my goodness. Everyone was going nuts at that point. It was a 2-point game, but Jordan Haggard came in clutch from the foul line. He sunk 2 perfect free throws late to give the Hawks the edge. They won their first ever sectional title, taking down Ithaca 78-74.
So, wow. That game was actually closer than the first one.
It was a lot closer than the first one. I know in the stack title, Ithaca ran away with it kind of towards the fourth quarter, but this one kept so close, and both teams, battled back and forth. It was, my heart still.
And it flip-flopped, so next year maybe a little bad blood between Corning and Ithaca boys basketball. It could be a rivalry.
I was going to say a little rivalry starting to develop between the two, but you got to love it. Well, coming up after the break, earlier this month it became official. First Arena, they have a new owner, but the Jackals do not.
That's right. After its last game of the season, the Jackals franchise will cease operations. Find out how the players feel about the end of the team.
Stick with us on this month's episode of Sports Talk, sponsored by Simmons Rockwell GMC.
Welcome back to this episode of Sports Talk. She's Jenna Harner, and I'm Kevin Case. And Jenna, earlier in the month, Elmira hockey fans received some shocking news.
Yeah, Kevin, it was announced the Jackals would be ceasing operations at the end of the season, but for many of the players and the fans, the realization Jackals hockey wouldn't be around in 2018 was a harsh one.
Yeah.
I was at a school yesterday, and one of the kids says, "I can't wait to see you next year," and I had to explain to him that we weren't going to be back. And his one of his classmates, his dad was the first Jackal captain ever. So to think that all these kids have literally grown up on Elmira Jackals hockey and it's not going to be here next year is too bad.
Come next year, the Elmira Jackals will be no more. As earlier this month, it was announced First Arena would be bought, but it would be the Jackals' last season in the Twin Tiers. And along with the community, the news has impacted the players who have spent the majority of their early pro careers in Elmira.
To me, it's just been, it's the first chapter of my pro career. So, it had to come to an end eventually, but it's too bad it's under these circumstances. So.
It means a lot to put the Jackals logo on every night and play here. So it means a lot to me personally.
Now, there is still hope for hockey in Elmira, as part of the deal with the arena hinged on the new buyer bringing another team to the city. And while this crop of players may be leaving the area, they're hopeful hockey will have a resurgence.
Being a small community, I know some guys love playing where you're one of the biggest shows in town and people recognize you at the grocery store. That's something that's a selling point for this area, and hopefully it can draw some good players here in the future.
Oh, I like to believe that there will be hockey back here fairly soon. I think just with this facility and the people here that there's got to be a way that they can make it happen.
Jackals' last game is Saturday, April 8th. Jenna, both you and I will probably be there as Jackals close this chapter on 10 years in the city, 10 years in the ECHL.
10 years in the ECHL. They definitely left a legacy on Elmira. And like we said before, hopefully the new buyer does bring this new team in and that there's hockey back in Elmira shortly.
Yep. Well, coming up after the break, we've got 2 more fun segments to go. Jenna, you'd say you use Twitter a lot.
I do.
I would say you use Twitter a lot.
You would say, well, I could say the same for you there. We're both pretty big tweeters, so we figured we'd throw in a little bit of a Twitter segment.
Yeah, sorry to say it's on our version of Mean Tweets, but don't go anywhere because up next, it's our top tweets of the month.
We'll be right back. Welcome back into this month's episode of Sports Talk. And okay, Kev, this is a segment I know we're both pretty stoked about.
Twitter is fun, Jenna. We're both pretty avid Twitter users, so we returning to Twitter to help us out a bit for March's tweets of the month.
And starting us off, Watkins Glen International here, giving a little shout out to the Watkins Glen girls basketball team for winning the Class C state championship. They said, we're proud of you. Crazy finish. Crazy finish it was.
It was a crazy finish. You got one Watkins Glen institution giving props to another newer Watkins Glen institution, which is the Watkins Glen girls basketball team.
They're going to be big name. I'm sure we'll see them up at the track sometime throughout the season. Probably they're going to grand marshal some sort of something.
I'm sure there'll be a little bit of a cooperation there going on.
I could see that.
Let's head to our next tweet of the month. This one, a little bit more of a somber mood. Elmira Jackals broadcaster Lucas Savala, he does the play-by-play for them.
Does pretty much everything for this team when it comes to multimedia, social media as well.
If you've read a Jackals tweet or seen Jackals commercial, Lucas has been a part of it.
Absolutely.
And obviously, he says, a really tough day in Elmira. We look forward to finishing the season as best we can. That was the day that, it was announced that Jackals would cease operations at the end of the year. So that was obviously a very tough time for Lucas and the rest of the organization.
And finishing the season as best they can, too. The Jackals have been playing some pretty good hockey over this last stretch. Yeah. Pretty good compared to earlier in the year, I guess we can say.
That is true.
Moving on up to our next one, Jason Rodriguez of the Corning Hawks. This was after they fell in the first round of the state tournament to Mount Vernon. He tweeted, "I'll never forget the moments we had this season. Much love for my boys."
Basketball emoji.
Basketball emoji.
Don't forget the basketball emoji.
Couldn't forget the emoji. Those are some great pictures, though. I mean, when I was there after the sectional final win, they were so ecstatic. Yeah. They were jumping up and down. There was almost, a little bit of disbelief since it was the program's first ever sectional title.
Right, I was going to say, we talked about Newfield making some history, Watkins Glen girls making some history, but Corning boys, first time in combined program history in states, right?
In states, exactly. They were a little bit of an underdog, and they carried that mentality the way through. So not necessarily a full Cinderella story, but they had the underdog mentality.
There you go, maybe. All right, well, moving on to the next one here. Some more basketball. We got all-star teammates who aren't normally teammates. That's Gary Roppers and Hunter Bodine. Roppers, of course, a point guard for Notre Dame. Bodine, a point guard for Waverly. They're rivals usually, but playing in an all-star game together. And Gary Roppers says, I'm not even going to lie, playing with the MVP Hunter Bodine is a lot more fun than I expected.
You have to love that. The camaraderie, I'm sure they're, friendly off the field. You have the rivalry off the court, I should say. Friendly rivalry, but it's always nice to see that all-star team coming together, and they dominated.
They did. They were really good in the semifinals. This game that newspaper clipping is from. Fun to watch.
Fun to watch. So our final tweet, this is one that I personally really love. This was.
Yeah, I don't like this one.
You're not a huge fan of this. Everybody around here knows I'm a big UConn Huskies fan. So when the women were taking on Syracuse, it's a good day to peel some oranges, a little bit of, some oranges outside Gamble Pavilion in Storrs, Connecticut.
Yeah, well, Syracuse did get peeled in that game. I think the UConn women won in the second round of the NCAA tournament against Syracuse by something like 30.
It was a big scoring margin. I mean,
pretty expected, though.
Pretty expected. A bummer, Syracuse was a very dominant team. Again, this was the rematch of the final from last year. So, you have to, almost really appreciate it. You almost kind of wish that it was a little bit later on in the season, especially for Syracuse.
I guess we'll continue to watch the UConn women's basketball team as they make that tournament run. I think it could be another national. It would be 5P?
5P.
Is that even 5P? Is that how?
Is that a thing? Is that a word? 5 in a row?
I guess we'll find out.
I'll take it. It means another UConn championship T-shirt from my mom. So
there you go. We'll see if you get that. Coming up after the break, we wrap things all up with our plays of the month. Find out who had the number one play.
Don't go anywhere. Stick with us on this month's episode of Sports Talk, sponsored by Simmons Rockwell GMC.
Welcome back to this month's episode of Sports Talk. She's Jenna Harner, and I'm Kevin Case. And Jenna, it's time for that part of the show, the last part.
The last part. You're talking about our WENY top plays of the month?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
That is what I'm talking about.
It was an emphatic yes. Well, let's just take a look at those just in case that is what you're thinking about. And this month we've got plays on the ice and the hardwood making appearances, so let's get right to it. We're going to begin number 5, the girls Class C sectional final. Game tied less than a minute. Taylor Kelly over 2 defenders. That put Watkins Glen up 37-35 with 16 seconds to play. Just unbelievable. I love this one.
Yeah, they won the sectional title after that shot, and they went on to win the state title. So
there's more to come from those Lady Senecas.
Yes, there is. All right, moving on to number 4 here, Jackals and the Norfolk Admirals. Casey Thrush, who we met earlier in the show.
We did. Whew.
Speeding up the ice and slotting in a backhander in the top corner. At the time, Elmira had won 2 of its last 3 games. So as we said, Jackals playing a little bit better here in this final month of the franchise.
That's a pretty goal. So smack in the middle, Watkins Glen, first round of Class C states. Senior Amanda Pike poured in 30 points.
3-0.
3-0. She was the key to a Seneca's blowout win. Watkins Glen was on their way to the state final 4. They met Meikle Christian Academy. They won that one, and obviously we know what happens a little bit later down the line.
And there's still more from Watkins Glen coming, too.
Still more.
By the way, sitting at number 2, this one belongs to the Waverly boys. The swat on one end and the one-handed slam on the other. That's senior Zach Van Houten with the block and junior Matt Van Houten with the slam. I don't know if they're related. The odds say probably.
Probably.
But I can neither confirm nor deny.
I was just going to say that. And drum roll, number 1. Deservingly so.
Yeah, no surprise.
You've seen this one just a couple times. Hannah Morse for Watkins Glen at the buzzer for the championship. The stakes, Kevin, they usually don't get higher than that.
No, they just don't, and you can't. It's the last point that you can win. The ball is on the rim as the buzzer.
This was the Lady Senecas. They clawed their way back from a huge 16-point deficit, and we just want to, again, congratulate them for bringing home the program's first ever state title. I mean, just
3 of the 5 top plays of the month.
3 of the 5
Watkins
top plays
Glen.
of the month.
And a state title.
And a state title.
And a sectional title. Not a bad month for Watkins Glen girls basketball.
Not a bad month. Deservedly so for them.
Yes.
Again, also to Newfield as well. A huge congratulations to them for making it as far as they did.
Yeah.
I mean,
and everyone else, Corning boys basketball in the States, Elmira girls were in the States.
Elmira girls. We had lots of teams making those big runs. Yeah, that Elmira girls game against Austining, that first round of the tournament was absolutely crazy. So again, expect a lot of things from these teams to come, within the next couple years or so.
Yep.
Should be good.
Absolutely.
Well, that's all the time we have for this month's episode of Sports Talk. He's Kevin Case. I'm Jenna Harner. Have a great night.